Hi there. I've been pretty busy with my renewable projects. I'm once again trying to get my microcontrollers going in order to drive the heliostat technology that I need for using concentrated solar power, which I want to do with a Fresnel lens. We have Brent from Share on Family Connect, one of my commenters, that has offered to support those efforts. And I think that will be very interesting. I can order a line focus Fresnel lens and a spot focus Fresnel lens, but they are pretty small. If I want to order a bigger one, so the 1 square meters size lens, then I need a little bit more support. The aim is to use that to prove the utility of high temperature solar power for other things than just generating electricity. They're basically, very useful in fabrication of materials. You can melt steel with it, you can melt other stuff with it. Why not use it directly? There is actually also an example of using concentrated solar power from Fresnel lenses in combination with a sapphire for laser light to generate solar laser, and that has a very nice quality that it is continuous. It's not flash, it's not nanosecond, so it's extremely powerful. Actually, you can put 80 watts in a very tight spot. It's always a nice thing to say, but and melt right through magnesium, other materials, and there was a Japanese professor that proved that technology. That's very useful in many applications. Communication, heating, of course, you like to heat something. If you can do it through an insulating barrier that protects the heat and keeps it inside, then that's of course a nice thing to have. So I'm hoping to work on that. I also came across a French company that provides hydrogen storage at low pressure, which is a game changer in a way. But it's not very well known. It's one of those examples where you find technology in the industry already that is not adopted in the mainstream because it would be too disruptive for the stakeholders in the economy, which is the carbon system, the carbon credit system. They don't like it. The reason why you don't like hydrogen storage as a main player, as a non-industrialist, is that it basically makes your network ambitions obsolete. So there's this, of course, this company has, French company can store about a megawatt or 2.3 megawatts of energy in a simple shipping container. So that's an enormous battery that you have there, with very little loss in the form of hydrogen. That means that if you have local energy production and you store it in that unit and you reutilize it in your own community, that you don't need your network, high-powered network connection to outside your community, that you're not going to trade your energy with anywhere else because you simply keep it yourself, you store it until you use it. That you will not need power plants at the other end to catch your intermittence of your energy supply, which of course is a well-guarded quality of renewable energy. So wind is intermittent, solar is intermittent, and that's why heat is so unpopular, because you can definitely store it, and if you base your energy supply on first generating heat and then generating electricity from that heat, and you have a storage solution for your heat, then of course you will find that there's no intermittence anymore, and you basically have a backbone base load energy supply, which can be done with concentrated solar power as well, and is proven in Spain. Those things are disruptive because, and a big problem, because basically if you live off fees, of transaction fees, you don't want to have a European energy market, which also allow you to defer your motivation to do anything. So you basically, if you come into a room and you say, well, I want to have everybody's money, then people will look at you and they will be united against you and say, well, okay, screw you, you're not getting the money. But if you come into a room and say, well, I just got a notice from the police department that we have to collect all the money because there might be something wrong with it, then everybody will gladly hand over all their money to you. So you need to have a deference option. That's also what is the key to the success of and basically the desire of the banking system to create shareholder constructions, because you can always blame the shareholder for doing something that you yourself want to do. And there's no, it's a virtual thing, but people that go against the shareholders' desire, they imagine themselves to become very, very unpopular. It's a group of people. So it communicates like a group of people doesn't want you to do that. Well, maybe then I won't do it. That same thing goes with energy market, and it's actually a benefit of the energy market to have many stakeholders that are independent and are not agreeing with each other, except for one thing, and that is that they like the market because they live off it. You see, that's same thing goes for US car users or consumers in general. They also all go mad if they can get a hamburger or an iPad or an iPod. And that's because they are all, individuals and not agreeing with each other, but they have one thing that they do like, that they're very adamant about, and that is that they want to be able to consume. Because that's the freedom they were given, and they have acquired without doing too much for it, and now they assume it's a right. It's something that, it would be wrong for them not to allow them to consume whatever they want. Same thing with credit cards, same thing with mortgages. So that system would break down if you have local energy storage. The desire so you would basically have to make a calculation and say, okay, well, now we have this. For the market to operate, we need to have a bigger power line to that community. That's usually not true, because that community is already served from a central grid. But let's say you have different levels of grid connectivity, and up to a certain level the current has to be able to come from somewhere else because of the trade, and you're going to invest in that. But that's of course a dead investment. That's like building a road. If you build a road and you don't have gasoline, then it's not going to be much use, but it's going to make the road builder very happy. So nobody cares about the fact that those network connections might not be useful, and they are hoping they're useful. But the only, let's say, the condition for a power network connections to be useful is that you find something to burn your power plant, that you get a power plant in the future, and that you keep them. It's much smarter to make a judgment to say, well, okay, if my connection to the network from where I want to, the one I want to make, can be avoided by simply adding storage to the network, then why not do that? Maybe that's even cheaper. And storage is something that actually reduces carbon consumption, because you can suddenly store your solar energy that for a large part gets wasted or can get wasted, and you can reuse that energy yourself. So the price of energy doesn't really matter anymore, because you basically produce a kilowatt and you get a kilowatt, and you don't have to pay for any kilowatts from anybody else anymore. There's no cash flow anymore. You'd like that, because you don't have to earn income then, so you don't have to take every job that's on offer. All those things are considerations, and it's really nice to see a company that offers hydrogen storage. The total efficiency that you can reach with such a system is about 70%, which is not bad at all. That's really 70% between you storing the energy and you retrieving useful energy, which includes heat. And it's really nice, I think, to work on a design of that and put it out there. Of course, it would be much more profitable for me if I can do it with partners and work on it and get a little consultancy fees from it. But up until now, that has never happened. The same goes for the Fresnel Lens project, and there's a couple of other projects, but I think these two are quite important and quite they kind of put something in the market that you don't want to have. Another example of an industrial tool that is available, but not available to anybody except those in the industry, is hydrogen generation with solar energy. So basically it's a cobalt-based solar panel that immediately splits water into hydrogen and oxygen. It was fabricated, made for a Japanese company that needed hydrogen. and for their process of making plastic, I believe, for some kind of methanol or ethanol. You can make methane then, the next step. So if you have these cobalt-based solar water splitters, you put them in your desert, then you can generate copious amounts of methane, which you can store and ship in gas shipping containers, just like they're used today, to the West. You probably need a large area and quite a bit of installation to do that, but then once again you are generating a form of energy that is already compatible with the existing infrastructure, and it is 100% carbon neutral. But it's a company, and you really, I'll put a link about it below this video, about this technology, and there's many other type of technologies. What you basically have, and I'll make this a little bit of a science video, but is that you have photovoltaics, which is that you have electric effect, electrons being displaced by photons and being able to be caught and then used. That's one thing. That's solar panels, everybody knows them. Then you have a photochemical effect, which there basically are two varieties, which is one is that you have photochemical effect. The second one, which is that you have a chemical reaction based on photonic input. That's also very interesting, because if you can find an electrolyte, which there is, for instance, it's silver chloride, one example, but I guess there's many others that I just don't know about, that will split up, that will ionize based on solar input, insulation. Then you can put 2 electrodes of carbon in it, and you can pick up the current. With the current you can reunite those ions. Or you can have some other more complicated chemical reaction, that you basically have molecules that float around in a liquid, and that the photon basically, like a switchblade, opens up with a little spring in it, and then once you get to your catalyst, you can reconvert it, and that's where you catch the energy from the sun indirectly. That's photochemical. And then you have photocatalytic effects, which is a little bit the same as photovoltaic, because on the surface of solar cells you'll find more electrons than are actually useful there. They don't belong there, they want to get away. And so if you have a chemical substance next to it that can accept those electrons and will change its structure, or be able to store it by changing its structure, then you'll have a photocatalytic effect. And that's what happens in these solar water splitters. You have cobalt. You can also use titanium oxide. Titanium oxide gets a bit of charge, especially when you combine it, for instance, with other dyes, which pick up more photons. That charge is then, when the charge is high enough, when the electron voltage is high enough of that charge, it can split water, because the water molecule comes along, finds that very enthusiastic electrons hanging around on the surface of the photocatalytic material, and the oxygen gets some electrons, and hydrogen gets some electrons, and you get hydrogen gas and oxygen, and the water is split. That's what happened in those. And you also have, that's another variant that I should mention in this context, is thermochemical reactions, which means that if you heat something up, you get a chemical reaction, which if it cools down might not be immediately reversed, but if you then add a catalyst, you can reverse it, and you can exploit that in order to basically capture the energy electrically that you have stored when the heat was applied. So you apply the heat changes the molecules. That means that the temperature drops because the heat is absorbed by the molecules in their change of structure, and then later you change the structure back, and then you have you can regain that energy in the form either of heat or in the form of electricity if you use a electronic like a fuel cell construction. One example of what a material can do that with is ammonia and H3, which you can split up in hydrogen and nitrogen, and then you can reunite it either in a let's say in a cell, or in a furnace later on. and basically burn nitrogen into hydrogen and form ammonia again. It's very weird, but it works very well. I have to quit this video, but thanks for listening, and I hope more people support me. Thanks.